Welcome back, everybody. This is June 25th, day 25 of our Summer Reading Regatta. It's been a wonderful, long, fabulous journey. Tonight, we are doing fantasy number 2. So many fantasy authors in our community, we had to split it up into 2 nights. So we're going to have a great time tonight with S.R. Cronin. We know her as Sherry, and you will too by the end of the night. Jean Davis is with us tonight. Michael Asselin is back again, so good to see you. And S.W. Raine tonight, we know her as Raine. And by the end of the night, so will you. So we're doing this awesome thing. We're going to have 4 great authors reading to you, talking with you. If you have questions or comments, please feel free to put them in the chat. My harbor crew, Kate and Caroline tonight, will check the chat and make sure that I stay on target. So here we go. We start out every night reminding you that we have Sailor Shore School. These are these awesome workshops that we've developed specifically for our indie author community. On June 7th, Caroline Tupperman brought us views, port, and starboard images as prompts. This was an awesome night. This was such an awesome night. I'm writing a new book. So that's how great this workshop was. You've got to check it out. It was really cool. Kate McNeil on June 10th brought us All Hands on Deck, where we talked about street and launch teams. And it's all Kate's fault if you get an email from me shortly. Blame her. On June 15th, D.A. Deborah Reed brought us You Had Me at the Hook opening lines. This was a fun, interactive program. We got to do a little writing, a little sharing, a little fun, lots of fun teasing. We had a great night. That one is especially accessible for younger writers, so bring your young ones and check that one out. On Sunday, June 27th, Andrew Smith will be bringing us Shots Across the Bow, Weapons in Fiction. He's going to tell us all how to use weapons in our writing, what's appropriate, what's inappropriate, what are the proper terminology to use, all that stuff, in addition to probably, if I know Andrew, some fun little videos to go with. This night is going to be PG-13 rated, so please, if you have young writers in your community that might be attending, make sure that you offer some parental supervision just in case. And then to wrap up our workshops, we have Brent Seth and Christopher Gare coming to do Land Ho, world building, as Christopher likes to say, either by mystique or by mistake. So we're going to be approaching it from both ends. So please do come. That's going to be interactive as well. These workshops are just $5 when you attend them live and in person, and they're $10 if you download the replay. This just covers our technology costs, folks. We're not making a mint on this. If you do them live or on the replay, you will get a printed PDF transcript along with the video replay so that you can arrows and circles and highlighting and all that kind of stuff. So check it out. Everything's listed on our website under the tab that says Race Regatta Replays. You can find them all there. Thank you, everybody, for putting up with my little commercial. Welcome to the regatta, Jean Davis, Sherry Cronin, S.W. Raine. We're going to know her as Raine tonight. Caroline Topperman, as I said, is on my crew. Kate McNeil is on my crew, and Michael Asselin is also here tonight to read for us. We're going to have a great time. We are first going to kick this off with Sherry Cronin. She's going to read for us, but first, I would love it, since you're brand new to our indie author community, Sherry, if you can give us a little bit of your background and how you got started writing fantasy fiction.
Okay, it's a long story, but I'll give you the short version.
The Reader's Digest condensed version is always good.
Condensed version. I sold a science fiction short story many years ago, when that was my greatest dream in life. And then after that, I got an idea for the next short story, decided it was a book, and spent 30 years writing the book.
Wow.
Yeah, life intervened. I got another job, got married, had 3 children, And then one day in about 2010, I was ready. And I wrote it, and I wrote 5 more novels. It's my first series. It's called 46 Ascending. I knew I wanted to self-publish. I just am not temperamentally patient enough, I guess, to go through the traditional process.
Sure.
I've been waiting years to get this book out, so I was ready. I finished it, and I realized I was not done. In fact, I was just kind of getting started. So I started my next series, which is 7 books, and this is the first one you're going to hear from tonight. It is 7 companion novels about 7 sisters in the 1200s. It's kind of an alternate history, historical fantasy. The Mongols are coming towards the hidden kingdom that they've lived in for, well, the kingdom has been hidden for centuries. It's had very little strife. They've never dealt with war. They're woefully unprepared to be invaded. They think they're invincible, and the sisters are smart enough to figure out they're not, and they're going to need a boatload of help or they're all going to die. So it's kind of a utopia cool. facing a major problem. Each of the sisters has unique powers and talents that she brings to the table. And if you actually read all 7 books, you'll know how they saved their kingdom.
I think it's awesome that women save the world. I just think that's the best. we need more we need more literature that does that.
I had great fun writing it. I'm working on book 5 right now, although they all live in my head.
Sure.
1 came out in last November, and then book 2 came out in February, and book 3 just came out in May. Book 4 will be out in August. So I've had one of those nose to the grindstone.
So you're just like Jean. You guys are just obsessively. Oh my gosh. Wacky. Okay. I would love it if you would read a little bit, and then we'll come back and ask questions. How about that?
It sounds excellent. I picked something in the middle of the book, so can I give you about a 20-second intro first?
Absolutely. Go right ahead.
Okay, Realgar is the woman's name, the young woman. She's the intellectual and mastermind of the group. And she has had several things happen in her life go poorly, and so she's sort of run away to join the witches in the forest. They're called the Velka. Realgar has a slight tendency to be able to move objects with her mind. They refer to it as rushing, not telekinesis. And when we get to this point in the book, she's recruiting more people to help her. She's decided that she can stop the Mongols, and she has a plan, and she's a determined woman.
Okay.
Okay, this is where we start. The women we visited lived alone or in 2s or 3s. They differed from the Velka I knew, and they resembled what the outsiders feared. They were older, with hoarse voices and vague looks in their eyes. Their pale skin hadn't seen sunshine for decades, and their hygiene was poor at best. While the Velka I knew spent time socializing, these women devoted entire days to contemplation and their arts. Some refused to come out and talk to us. I suspected others hid, and we never even knew they were there. But the couple of dozen we spoke with, I could feel the strength in each of them as an energy pulsating from within. Mindful of my mission, I took the time to explain Alari's predicament to each woman, asking for her advice, or better yet, her help. Not one had a useful idea. Not one was willing to join us. But if we do nothing, I said, the Mongols will make their way into the forest. They'll destroy every one of you. You'd be fighting for yourself and for your lifestyle too. One doesn't fight for this lifestyle, a woman who looked at least 90 years old told me. One lives it until it's gone, then it is. We got similar responses from the others we spoke with. The best I got was a reluctant promise from a few to help me hide the sick or injured, or to allow me to stash supplies nearby. And some of the women let me know they wouldn't even tolerate that. As we stopped to eat our lunch, one woman must have watched Jolie and I through the trees, recognizing us as sister rushers. She flung a rock at Jolie's face, in fun, thinking Jolie would stop it in midair, I guess. But Jolie couldn't get the job done. The stone grazed her face just below her eye, drawing blood. The old woman emerged embarrassed from the trees, identifying herself. We introduced ourselves. It's okay, Jolie said. I should have used my hands to catch the rock. I thought I could stop it. I had no idea you were so strong. She responded with a hoarse, crackly laugh. Well, that kind of strength is what 40 years of doing absolutely nothing else will give you, sweetie. I'm sure Jolie and I thought the same thing. No thanks. As we approached the northern edge of the forest, I said what I'd been thinking. Pretty much a disaster, huh? Really? Our guide said. No one attacked you? Well, except for the rock, and that was meant in fun. No one told you not to set foot anywhere near them again. A few were even a little helpful. I think it went well.
Good job. Well done. I love this world that you've created, based on history, but not.
Exactly.
So tell me where you got the idea to start this world building process. You know, it's something we're going to talk about at the end of the month, but it's something that all of us, Jean is especially crafted at this, but all of us have to go through this world building process. So how did you decide what era to set your book in, and how did you decide to create the culture that you did?
It came from two really surprising places. One end of it was my kids bought me a day at a spa for Mother's Day in 2019, and they were putting gunk on my face and things on my hands, and I just don't like that. I'm not a spa lady. I mean, it was very sweet, and I started thinking about how women are so different. You know, I mean, you take seven of us, and we all like different things, and the story sort of grew out of that. But I'm really happy with the team. My husband, who does not write at all, loves history. And he loves researching things, and he's very good at it. And he's retired. He's a retired teacher. And at the same time I was working on the story, he was reading a book about the Mongols and how really amazing and interesting they were. And that emerges in my story. They start out as the enemy, but as the books go on, you learn that while they did indeed kill a lot of people, that is a fact, they also had an amazing culture and in many ways were very admirable. So the more he got excited about the 1200s and the Mongols, and the more I got excited about creating 7 different women, the book kind of grew out of it. And
That's
he's
awesome.
now a fact checker. He reads every book. And believe me, if it didn't happen in the Middle Ages, I hear about it.
That's awesome. Kate, I want you to ask your question. Your research question. Go.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, I thought the world building one. All right. What would you say is your most unusual or will surprise the audience source of research?
I am going to be taking archery lessons next month because book 4, which I'm finishing up, she is an archer. And I decided I'm kind of what do they call it, method acting? I think I'm kind of a method writer.
Okay.
Yes, so I am in fact going to go take lessons just to help me write that scene with her.
What a great idea. Caroline, you look like you have a question.
No, I think that is so cool. I mean, that's so weird. Diana and I had a conversation about that earlier today about doing research. So I was just wondering, so I take you get a lot of it from your husband, which is very cool. And then also just actually going to do it. Is there anything else that you've done like that, like for the previous books? Because
just one I didn't do, he did. I wrote one of them that had a lot to do with sort of a racist white supremacist situation in a school in Texas. And they do a reenactment of a Civil War battle in the book. And this is not Kevin's thing at all, but he actually attended a Civil War reenactment for me and took notes on all the various people, ended up sitting with some history professor who just gave him a boatload of information. And he came home and said, I'm not doing that ever again, but.
That's very cool.
Here's what I
Author goals. Marry somebody like that.
Good for your husband for taking one for the team. Yay. Thank you. I'm so glad that you read for us tonight. I'm really pleased that we're getting to know you, and I hope that you will continue to be a part of our community as you continue to write more. Definitely come back in October so we can learn more about your books. This is Sherry Cronin, S.R. Cronin. You guys and your initials, you're going to make me crazy. So this book is She's the One Who Thinks Too Much. And just in case you're wondering, the companion book is She's the One Who Cares Too Much. And we're giving away one of each of those tonight, so that'll be fun. I love the trend with your titles, Sherry. It's very, very cool. Next, we are going to have Jean Davis read for us. Now, this is for, okay, not another Bard's Tale. Notice the dragon, okay? Not another Bard's Tale. Now, some of you may or may not know Jean. I know Jean as a speculative fiction writer. I know Jean as like science fiction and taking it to the next level and like doing stuff that you hadn't thought of before. And then I see this and I'm going, hold on. What did you just do to my perception of Jean Davis? So Jean, I need to have you explain this for me so that I can wrap my head around what you're doing.
Back in 2008, during NaNoWriMo, I decided I was just going to let loose and do humor. And I hadn't done, my characters usually have snarky, dark humor throughout all my books.
Well, yeah, but that's you, so that's okay.
Right, exactly. So I thought, I'm just going to do something lighthearted. I'm not going to get totally into plot. I'm just going to do something a little experimental. So this book actually carries all the main characters get a chapter throughout the whole book till we get to the middle. And then it plays back, the ones that are still alive, play back and get a second chapter going in reverse order till the end. So it's something very different from what I have done before. It's very lighthearted, very campy, a fantasy parody completely. I actually started with a list of fantasy tropes and thought, how many of these can I think outside the box and work into the story? So I think there's 23, 30 of them, somewhere in that range that I actually worked into the story in various degrees. So it was a lot of fun.
So understanding then that you started with a list of tropes, can we then say that this book was plotted?
Not at all. No, I had the list there. I had one character, which was Bruce. He's like the beginning character and the end character kind of thing. And he's a very not great knight, a knight of little renown, going out to make his fame and fortune. And I knew he was going to be in a fantasy story, and I had these tropes to work with, and I just kept adding. I worked off the trope list and went, okay, so there's a female character that uses some unusual weapon, and so my Dira came in, and she uses a frying pan. So that's her weapon.
Cool. And
she's actually the very strong female character that carries the story.
With a frying pan.
With a frying pan of terror. Yes.
What's fun. Okay, I can't wait anymore. Would you read a little bit for us, please?
Sure. I am going to read from you from chapter 11, which is Timoninius's chapter. He's a wizard.
Okay, wait a minute. Say his name again.
Timoninius.
Timoninius.
Yes. So there's a lot of stuff that plays off Monty Python in here. The wizard named Tim.
Yeah.
So this is Timoninius. Yes.
Got it. Okay.
Yes. It's a highly abridged version of the chapter to fit in my time period, but yes.
Okay.
So Timoninius adjusted his wizard's robes. It wouldn't do to come to the presence of Darkius Maximus, evil overlord extraordinaire, and master of the nine darknesses, looking shabby and ripe from the road. There was a protocol to follow between users of magic. Offending the overlord wasn't the impression he wanted to make. He addressed the minions standing outside the door. When will he see me? He'll see your head on a spike if you don't quit pestering me. Return to your seat. Timoninius huffed. It was hard to find good minions these days. He understood that, but there was no need for rudeness. He returned to his wooden bench, inlaid with broken glass, and shifted in place until he found a spot that offered minimal poking. If this bench cut his new robes, he was going to submit a request for reimbursement, and that would get the minions all riled up for sure. No one liked additional paperwork. The minions came and went, all wearing their black uniforms, black leggings, fitted black shirt, emblazoned with a silver diem just over their hearts. Clean, their hair clean and pulled back and dyed black, a free perk that Timoninius planned to make use of as he was lucky enough to get hired. His gray hairs needed help, and the forces of good, they embraced the grays and whites. A minion passed by, dusting the wall plaques as she traveled down the hall. The one he had stared at for an hour now read, "Ye evil antechamber," in a script with its imposing heavy strokes, quoted good, in an evil sort of way, about the evil overlord. Dust drifted through the air. Timoninius, without thinking, uttered a quick spell to prevent sneezing. Golden glitter showered down around him, dusting his robes and hair. He groaned. Would he ever rid himself of the curse on his magic that made all his spells go wrong? He looked up at the otherworldly mist hanging just out of his reach. Ever since he'd taken that job to steal the crystal known as the God's Eye from the great dragon Jasperneck's cave of treasure, his magic had been off. Dragons and their curses. Small spells, he repeated to himself. Small stuff that couldn't go too wrong. Maybe he could get in good with the evil overlord. and he would offer suggestions on getting rid of the dragon's curse. After all, who had more knowledge of curses than an evil overlord? Sir, a female's voice said, they're ready for you inside. Tim and Aeneas rose from the glass shards. Sorry, I got all these things crossed out. Rose from the glass shards and shook the golden flecks from his robes. The woman frowned at the mess he left on the black stone. That's not going to gain you any favor with the cleaning minions. I'm sorry, I don't have anything with me to clean it up. Oh, please, you might as well leave already, apologizing. She snorted and consulted the parchment in her hand. You did check off evil on your application. Are you sure you did that truthfully? Yes, of course. She shook her head. If you say so, I have a feeling you're going to be hearing about this interview later. She headed to the door and mumbled, I'm going to hear about it when we're all sitting around the cauldron, drinking our tankards of chilled blood and laughing. Don't you mean cackling? I distinctly remember no laughing clause in the handbook. She turned around and giggled. There might be hope for you after all. Tim and Aeneas followed her through the doorway. 3 tables were lined up in the room. 2 men and a woman sat at each one with a long line of applicants trailing between them. What's all this? He'd not seen anyone else enter during his entire wait. It's open audition day. Don't tell me you didn't see the banner outside. He shrugged. I must have missed it. I'll have a word with the publicity minions. Their performance rating has been on the decline for months. She scribbled a note on the parchment on her hands. One of the men nearest the table waved to her. Is that the guy who filled out the application when we had open auditions? Yeah. She held up the parchment. We'll take him. No reason he should have to wait. Right. She handed him the application and turned back to Tim and Aeneas. Forrest will take good care of you. Best of luck. She backed away. Forrest gazed at him with dark, narrow eyes. So, you think you have what it takes to be evil? Tim and Aeneas stood up straight. Yes, I do. Good for you. Now get in line. But everyone else in line laughed. He tossed the parchment and turned his attention to the woman next in line. So you think you have what it takes to be evil? Now I got the wrong page. The petite girl stepped forward and grinned, showing 2 deep dimples beside her pink plump lips. I do, but don't you get sick of saying that? That's got to be very tiring. Is it required? Maybe you could ask about switching it up a little to keep things interesting. Switching it up a little, he scoffed. We don't do that here. We follow directions. Maybe you can't read. That's the name of the event. Didn't you see the banner? She blushed. I'm so sorry, I didn't see a banner. Those publicity people, he turned to the woman beside him. Get one of them up here right now. She nodded and dashed off. The applicant played with the long tangle of her long black hair, blinking slowly. So what do I do? Forrest glanced at his remaining cohort. The other man nodded toward a door in the side of the room. What's your name? Forrest asked. Cindy. It's your lucky day, Cindy. Why, you are super cute. We don't do that here either. And sadly, you're not quite evil enough to make up for it. However, we do have some lovely parting gifts for you. If you go through that door over there, someone will help you. Cindy's bright smile collapsed and her dimples vanished. Her head hung low as she made her way to the door. The female returned with a little dwarf. He'd been nominated by the other publicity minions to speak on their behalf. Forrest addressed the dwarf. This banner you people spent so much time on. Why does no one notice it? Are you kidding? We worked for days on that. He slammed his meaty fist onto his hips and glared at Forrest. Where is it? It's right in front of the keep. Let's take a break a moment and go outside to evaluate the problem. You wizard, come with us. Since you walked right by it too, maybe you can explain why you missed it. Tim and Aeneas took a deep breath of fresh air. The air inside had smelled distinctly like brimstone. They turned in a slow circle. So where is this monumental banner? It's right there, the dwarf pointed to the flat front of the black keep. Tim and Aeneas glanced up, tilting his head from side to side in an attempt to make out what he was pointing at. It's just a bunch of bones. I thought they were decoration. The dwarf soldier slumped. How are we supposed to know the crows would clean them off so quickly? Do you have any idea the amount of time it went to attach all those corpses to the keep? The walls are high, I'll have you know. And making words out of bodies is not easy. They get right pretty quick. Forrest shook his head. Would it kill you people to get a message out in a logical and legible manner? It's a good thing I suggested flyers, or we'd be bored stiff today.
Oh my gosh. Every time I meet up with you, you've got something new to throw at my imagination.
Always something different.
Oh my gosh, always something different. Holy moly. Okay, I can't even. Anybody have any questions for Jean? Okay.
Same question. Talk about your most unusual or surprising source of research.
Really, just that parody list. That's all I used.
I believe that. I've met
I still
you.
have it. It's
I
here
believe
somewhere.
that.
I thought I had it right here, but I don't. Yeah, it was, I got scribbled parts like, oh, this was chapter 2 and this was this chapter, but yeah, that was pretty much it.
Did you duplicate any of the tropes, or did you work really hard at just doing, a singular instance of each trope?
Oh no, there's just a nod to each of them throughout. I mean, I tried not to like directly, they were like thinking outside the box for the most part of it. We're like, oh, that, and it inspired this. Because I didn't want to like totally on the nose with them. So yeah.
Okay. We'll have to chat, and maybe next time you can do a workshop on writing with tropes.
Sure.
We'll do that. Caroline, any questions for Jean?
Yeah, so I was just kind of wondering who some of your writing influences were, because this had like this slight like Terry Pratchett-ish feel a little bit. That's like the first thing that came to mind. And I'm just curious who's like, if any of, those big ones, if any of them influenced you.
Yeah, I haven't read Terry Pratchett. I know everybody was like, oh, he's the best thing ever. But it never really, lit my fire. I honestly, I was a huge Monty Python fan all through my teenage years, and I think I've watched all of them. So that for me was probably my biggest inspiration. I've read actually, there's like The Unhandsome Prince and Heroics for Beginners, which is one of my favorite fantasy funny stories that John Moore wrote, and I read that and I cried. I was laughing so hard. There's a scene where the evil overlord he's doing the scene like milking the giant cow, where he's like ha 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 ha. Yeah, so I'm like, milking the giant cow, I love that. I didn't end up using it because that was like so on the nose, but yes, I love that book.
So Chelsea had a question. Any D&D influence in this book?
I don't play D&D. Both my kids do, so it was, yeah, I did that. There was a game on the Xbox a long time ago called Bard's Tale, and my husband and I used to play together, and so that's where the name came from. Yeah, I played Xbox. I didn't play D&D, but yeah, my kids do enough where I threw a lot of that in there too.
I love to hear when the next generation's playing D&D, because it doesn't make me feel so old.
There is actually a character in the story that is named Barry. He gets pulled in. He's the portal character that gets pulled in, and he is a gamer. He's a D&D player and gets pulled in to like this fantasy world that's real. Oh my God. Yeah. So that's a lot of fun.
What fun. Oh my gosh. Okay. Writing this book down. Gonna pick it up right away. Thank you. Let me show you Jean's book one more time so that you don't forget what it looks like. This is Not Another Bard's Tale by Jean Davis. Oh my gosh. So much fun. And so different from everything else you've read. Holy moly. I mean, every time I hear you read, it's not this. So it's just so much fun. I love discovering new little pieces of people's imaginations. It's very cool. Next, we're going to have Michael Asselin read from his book, Red Morning Child. We are honored to have Michael back. He's been with us a couple of times, and we always love to see repeat offenders come back into our room. Thank you, Michael, for joining us again. And and we're really happy to be able to share your work with what we hope is a new audience. Can you tell us a little bit about your writing background, and then give us the setup for this book, please?
Well, I don't really know about my writing background. I just kind of, I guess, had the urge to do it a few years ago and just kind of started doing it pretty much. And I wrote a few other things that need quite a bit of work still. So those have never been published or anything like that. But yeah, it was pretty much just something that was, I guess, in there that I had to get out. So.
Okay. So can you tell us a little bit about the book, the setup and the backstory for it?
Yeah, it's fantasy. It's set in something of a medievalish world, I guess, and it's got monsters in it, and majority of the book is about the main character getting captured and then kind of trying to escape and figure out basically why she was captured and just not die for the most part.
Okay. Who would you say is the most challenging character you had to write for this story? Was it antagonist, protagonist? Was it a side character? Who gave you the most trouble?
I don't know that any of them really gave me that much trouble, I guess.
Okay. How about this? How about you read a little bit from it, and then I'm sure the people in the room will have questions.
All right. So what I've chosen to read is I'm just going to start with the first chapter and read a little bit into that.
Okay.
In the dark, Critcha waited, listening, the air almost perfectly still, except for her ragged breath, the pounding of her own heart that in the unnatural stillness of the night sounded like the beating of great fists upon the earth. The ground tasted wrong. It was cold and bitter, like dead things left to rot. Critcha's bare feet soaked up the taste of the earth better than her ears could hear or her eyes could see. Tonight, every sense told her something was wrong. Critcha moved forward, keeping to the shadows, flitting from tree to tree like a shadow herself, careful not to disturb the unnerving silence. The houses were dark. No light shone from any of the windows. She was certain all the world could hear the dull, booming beats of her heart as she crouched under the window of a darkened house. But on this night, she didn't care about the rest of the world. Only those things that came from the lakes. She shivered and moved from below the window. Rounding a corner, she saw the length of the village. A narrow dirt track ran up the middle. Small stone houses crowded along it. There were only about 7 of them. Thatched roofs, slick with the summer's rain, glowed in the light of the night's 3 moons, 1/2 and 2/4. Critcha turned away, leaning back against the moist stones of the house, and took a deep breath, wondering to herself if they could already hear her heartbeat, could already sense the warmth of her blood, could already taste it on their cold lips and feel it filling their wretched bellies. She took another deep breath. The pounding of her heart slowed for a moment, and she heard something, a distant sound like the patter of bare feet on muddy earth. And she knew it was them, could only be them. The people of the village did not go barefoot as she did. Only they did. She turned and looked again. Now there was a glow coming from the window of a house at the far end of the village. It was little more than a flicker, the small light of a single candle, lit especially for her. The old couple were still alive then. Maybe the LaRue weren't here tonight. Maybe she had worried over nothing, had made it all up, but the ground tasted so strange, so dead, so cold. She shuddered again and moved silently through the village, stopping at the end of every house, looking in every window. As she drew closer, she slowed her pace. Her heart thundered in her ears as she strained to listen for the sound of more footsteps in the mud. Critcha drew a hatchet from the folds of her deerskin jerkin. Her eyes moved back to the flame in the window, now so close to her, but there was something strange about the flame. It didn't flicker and dance the way candles normally did. This seemed constant and solid. She realized to her horror that it was growing rapidly. Critcha ran forward, her hatchet raised, gripping it tightly in her sweating palm, and she knew too late the error of her haste. From all around her, hisses issued from the darkness. Low, guttural utterances she had heard so many times before in her nightmares. And she could hear them all about her, the soft patter of webbed feet on the mud, the click of nails on stones of the houses, nails as long as fingers and nearly as dexterous. Critcha froze, unable even to breathe, waiting for the inevitable pinch of the sharp nails penetrating her flesh. They hesitated, grotesque bodies poised, waiting in the darkness, just out of her sight. The shadows shielding them from her eyes, and the light of the growing fire set alight before them. They started to call. From the dark, their odious voices rose in unison, like a great and terrible chorus. Getcha, 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 getcha. It seemed to come from everywhere at once. Getcha, 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 getcha. A horrible croaking bellow from deep in their frog throats. They called out again and again. The awful sound filled her ears. She closed her eyes. The ground tasted like blood. And she was in another place, another time. She could smell the fire again, just like the blaze before her now. Feel its heat. It was the same as her nightmares. This place now, the fire in front of her, the time before when she was younger, when she was weaker. She opened her eyes and could still hear those screams, the screams of her youth, the screams in her nightmares, those guttural calls in the dark. Getcha, 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 getcha. She could see them now, black, bulbous eyes reflecting the firelight, rounded heads turning back and forth, looking from one to another, and then back to her, and then the fire. Rows of fine razor-sharp teeth shone out each time they croaked. Some clicked their nails together, others on the stones of the houses. They were drawing nearer now. Critcha closed her eyes again, taking a long, deep breath as she did. She began a slow exhale, but was interrupted as the door of the house in front of her burst open in a shower of splinters and sparks.
Well done. Okay, so I am definitely sleeping with the light on and the dog next to me tonight. That is just a little bit on the creepy side.
Well, that
Caroline.
Yeah, I mean, I love the imagery though. I love that intensity. And this is, I guess, this could be my question for anybody, but so as someone who's like primarily creative nonfiction over here, where do you get the ideas for this? Like where do you get the inspiration for this? All of that.
Part of it, I guess, actually kind of comes from like going kayaking and stuff, just hearing strange noises and seeing, because I guess maybe you can hear it better. So it's just kind of being out there and kind of closer to nature. So it's, I don't know, I guess you can just feel it more and you're kind of more vulnerable when you're doing that. So it's, I don't know, just kind of creepier. And plus then I always just, I don't know.
Okay, so that, I think you may have just ruined kayaking for me forever.
she's been trying to tell me that I should go kayaking. Yeah. I'm not ever. Oh my God.
Okay. Okay. So now I just don't know what to do with that. I
Wait. Okay. I do have a question. Although, no, we're never going kayaking ever, forever. So this is something that just popped into my head when you were reading this, Michael. When you are writing or have written, do you ever read this out loud to anyone else to just gauge on the spooky factor? Because damn.
Not really, I guess. I just kind of wrote it out and then just kind of saw how people reacted after I'd already written it.
Huh.
So you don't have a group of beta readers that you foist this on before it goes into print?
Well, there's some people, but yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of like I write it out first and then, yeah, I guess they kind of have to endure it.
Got it. So you're just out torturing us for fun? Is that what you're doing? That must be it. Okay. Well, the last question I have for you, because now it's been almost a full year since you first joined our community. Have you been working on another book? Do you have another one currently in process? What's the plan for the next piece coming out?
Well, I've actually kind of been working on a couple things, I guess.
Okay.
Can
you share them with us?
Yeah, kind of, because one is actually not really based off, but I kind of use part of the idea for it to write for one of the prompts.
Okay.
Which is the listing for a strange job or whatever it was.
For the one ad? Yeah.
So that's actually one of the things I've been working on, and I kind of already had that idea kind of working. So it was like, ooh, that's like the perfect spot to use that.
That's great.
Like something else that I've been working on a little bit. And then something more kind of in the same world as what I just read. That doesn't really have it's not the same characters, but it's the same world, and the events are going to be intertwined. And
Very cool. Well, we look forward to seeing that when it comes out. Please, when you release it, make sure you post a link to it on our Facebook page so that everybody knows about it. Okay? Thanks for coming back. We really appreciate it. Let me show everybody your book again so that we can find it. This is Red Morning Child by Michael Asselin, and it's yeah, creepy. Okay, moving on. So finally tonight we're going to have SW Raine. We're going to meet her tonight as Raine, but she writes under SW, and she wrote a book called The Techno Mage. This is a really striking cover, I got to tell you. When I first saw this cover, I was immediately drawn to this book. So kudos, did a good job there. Congratulations. So I'd love it if you could tell us a little bit about yourself, Raine, and how you got into this compulsive writing thing that we're all doing.
I am SW Raine, and I write steampunk and urban fantasy. The Techno Mage is steampunk.
Okay.
And I have been writing for forever. And I think I really started taking it seriously in high school. And coming from Quebec, I actually had my English teacher was the one who was helping me with telling the story, and I would write scenes and he would tell me what worked and what didn't work. So I think, yeah, so I really got serious about it in high school. I have been doing NaNoWriMo for almost 16 years. This is going to be my 16th year.
Well done. You have more stick-to-itness than me. Good job.
I'm actually an ML too, and I've been an ML for the Detroit region for almost 6 years.
Okay.
So I have, at the minimum, 15 stories that are just waiting for me to publish. The Techno Mage was actually what I wrote in 2012.
Okay.
And I finally got that out.
So let's talk about that for just 1 second.
Sure.
So you created the story in Nano 2012, and I know every time I meet people at festivals, they always say, how long did it take you to write this? How long did this? So you wrote it in 2012. Did it go through a continuous edit process until it got published, and then what year did you publish?
Yes and no at the same time. I decided at the end of 2011 that 2012 was going to be my year that I would get published, except I knew nothing about getting published.
Okay.
So I also knew nothing of the editing process, and the editing process is what was killing me. So I would, set it aside for a year, and then I'd come back to it, and then I'd get messed up again, and I'd set it aside for another year, and then I'd come back to it. So it was off and on for a little bit. When I finally got the correct information on how to properly edit, and what I didn't know at the time is that revision and editing were not the same thing. Which would have been helpful, before that. But when I finally got all that set, I said I was going to work on one of my urban fantasy ones, but it was way too complicated. So I said I need an easier one to start with. So the Techno Mage was apparently my easier one to start with, but it wasn't.
Yeah, we always get surprised by that, don't we?
Yeah. So
we think it's going to turn out one way, and it turns out a completely different way.
Exactly. So in, I want to say the summer of 2019, I think, I actually got together with Holly Ash. And her and I sat down. We went through a process for me to start getting my act together, start to get published and all that stuff. So this actually came out September 15th of 2020.
Wow, good job. Well done. It's always such an exciting thing to bring a new book out. I mean,
Oh
Jean
my
is,
goodness, I was so excited.
for Jean, it's old hat. She does this all the time. But for the rest of us, we're really super excited about it. So congratulations, and we're great to have you as part of our community. If you could set up the story for a little bit for us and then read, I would love that.
All right, well, the Techno Mage is, he's a mythical man. According to everybody, he doesn't really exist. And this on the cover is actually his mythical ship. It's an actual airship. It looks like a floating island, but it is an airship.
That's very cool.
And he created that airship, and he is, you know, travels the world, and nobody knows he exists. I have three main characters. Their name are Ikarim, Ardius, and Megaliana. And they eventually get kidnapped by a bunch of sky pirates. And Megaliana, because she is an alchemist, she gets sold to the Techno Mage for a really, really big sum of money. And the Techno Mage is the only one who can teach her how to better her ability. So that is the scene that I have. Is she is trying to get her mind off the fact that she's actually, you know, held hostage for the time being. And she, on his ship, there's a golem cemetery, and she wants to fix the golems. So that's where where I kind of started that off.
Okay, so go ahead and read a little bit for us.
All right. May I ask a question? Of course. What are those vines over there? The green ones. They're unlike anything I've seen. That, my dear, is alchemy, but in a purer form. She raised a brow and shook her head. A purer form of alchemy? She didn't understand how that was possible. Josephus approached the jars of controlled fire. As an alchemist, you're aware that alchemy is an equivalent exchange. You take elements and transform them into their opposite. He covered one of the flames with a lid, then removed it after a few seconds, allowing the smoke to escape. He picked up a jar and tilted it above the empty glass bottle, pouring out a clear liquid. Megaliana had been taught this growing up, though she was thoroughly impressed that the Techno Mage did it all without the aid of a pendulum. You know that fire can turn to water and air, and that air can turn to water and earth. You can get more complicated and say that oxygen turns to hydrogen, lead turns to gold, or you can make it into a pure form. Josephus poured the water in a plate of sand on another table. Megaliana followed closely, curious and observant. He dipped his index finger in the mix and stirred it until it was properly absorbed. Then he used both hands to knead the wet sand. Soon it did not look like sand at all, but clay. Megaliana frowned, then glanced about for a pendulum. How are you? The Techno Mage only replied with an amused grin as he molded the clay to look like a miniature golem. Instantly, it hardened and turned to brass, then to bronze. Vines grew and wrapped themselves around the statuette, and she wrinkled her nose when green insects emerged. But she was so enthralled, she couldn't turn away. He sprinkled a fine, crystallized powder onto the figurine, and Megaliana gasped as it began to move on its own. Josephus held his hand out closer for her to see. It was an amazing spectacle, and she couldn't even comprehend how he was doing it. Suddenly, he sandwiched the miniature golem and crushed it, revealing nothing but dust as he pulled his hand away. He poured the dust into the empty glass bottle, and the tiny particles instantly liquefied once inside. Megaliana was speechless. The entire ship, the Fogragir, is built this way. Technology and alchemy merged together. Magic. He corked the bottle and offered it to her. She was reluctant to take it. Magic? More like sorcery. She was convinced that what he had just done was not alchemy. However, she had to admit it was truly fascinating. Megaliana finally accepted the bottle and inspected the green substance that seemed to glow with a life force all its own. May I keep this to study? Be my guest, he bowed. Excited, Megaliana finished picking through the objects available to her, while Josephus placed them in a wooden pail. With new liquid to study and the promise of tools to keep her occupied, she thanked the mage and made her way back to the cemetery.
Well done. Thank you very, very much. Nice job. How did you get the idea to put a world on an airship? I never would have thought of doing that. So where did that come from?
I don't know.
Okay, that's not the answer I wanted.
I have no idea.
Okay. That's helpful. Okay. Go ahead, Kate.
I think this is a question I haven't asked anybody else. So bang on you. You've trumped me. Listening to the name of your main character, where do you come up with the character names?
Can I say I don't know?
Oh.
No. No, it sounds, I mean, honestly, when you were reading it, I kept hearing Magellan in my head.
They just come to me. They really do.
You don't do any name research? Like, you don't go to websites, you don't read baby name books, you don't do any of that?
I do for the characters that won't tell me their names.
Okay.
But for the other characters, they just come to me.
Okay. So, Kate, I'm going to make a presumption and say that Raine is a pantser, not a plotter.
Oh, yes.
Little bit.
Oh, yes.
Team Kate.
All right. So Joan had a question. She wants to know how much did you have to read about historic alchemy, or is that one of your pet topics?
So much research. Oh my God. I had to do a lot of research on the Victorian era, first of all, because that's the era that steampunk takes place in. So I had to do a lot of research on the Victorian era. Megaliana is actually German, so I had to do a lot of research on the German side of the Victorian era. And I had to research technology when she's fiddling with the golems and taking them apart and putting them back together. I had to research like how a motor works. I had to research how steam powered anything works, really. And I definitely had to do a lot of research on alchemy itself.
Okay, so those of you who are calling yourself pantsers and do this much research, I'd like to have that argument with you someday. Because really, no, it doesn't work. Sorry.
Well, here's the thing. That was only during the editing phase. I did absolutely no research writing it.
Ah, okay. So when you went back to edit, that's when you figured out where you needed to.
I am a bare bones writer.
Okay.
I write bare bones, and my editing phase is usually where I have to add things and make sure everything is correct.
Okay. So write the dream and then make sure it sounds reasonable.
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
She's still on my team. She's still on my team.
Right.
Yeah, that's really cool. You can tell. You can really hear it that you've done that research, and it's really cool. Yeah. And I love that you kind of work backwards that way. So it's like you're completely uninhibited by any details, and then later on you put them in and adapt as needed.
I actually found out that because I tried to outline, I cannot outline to save my life. I am a pantser, like thorough pantser, but there is something called a reverse outline.
Yeah.
So when you write and then you go based off of what you wrote to outline, and then that's where you notice, well, I need a chapter in between these two chapters, and I need to, figure something out here. And so, but yes, okay. Total pantser.
Awesome. I'm so glad we met you. Thank you so much for joining our community. I hope you will come back again in October and share more of your work with us.
I have one of the side characters, the pirate who actually sold Megaliana to the Technomage. Mm-hmm. He was literally only supposed to get Megaliana from point A to point B. and he kind of like stole the show. So I am working on a spin-off series featuring the Sky Pirate. And I've been editing that all month long. It has to go to the editor next month, so.
Perfect. So you'll have new stuff to share with us in October. That's great.
I might, yeah.
Thank you so much. I want to show everybody Raine's book again. This is the Techno Mage. This is a really cool cover, by the way. It's got some really, really neat details and stuff in it. It's very, very cool. So check this book out. We're just having a blast meeting new authors and hearing new stories. I've said this before. I said it a lot at the beginning of the month. The reason I do these festivals is purely selfish, because I want to be that 6-year-old kid sitting at the library listening to story time. So I'm creating story time for myself with these festivals. That's what I'm doing. I hope all of you are having a good time. I know I'm having a good time.
Definitely.
Chelsea, I love this comment. Chelsea says, all you newbies are killing my wallet. Excellent, Chelsea. Well done. Okay. We're going to give away some books because that's what we do here. In addition to storytelling, we give stuff away. So today we're going to give away a copy of Not Another Bard's Tale, as opposed to Another Bard's Tale. This is Not Another Bard's Tale. We're going to give away a copy of The Techno Mage. We're going to give away two copies of Red Morning Child. See, I keep wanting to change the title, Michael. I've been doing it now for almost a year. I don't know. So 2 copies of that one. And then we are also going to give away Sherry Set, both books, book 1 and 2 of her series. These are, she's the one who thinks too much, and she's the one who cares too much. So we're going to give those away as well. That means we're going to spin the wheel 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times tonight. Diana doesn't match. She has to count out loud. Okay. So 5 times tonight, we're going to spin the wheel. Let me see if I can share my wheel before I spin it tonight, because, you know, that's been a thing. Okay. Here we go. Kate, can you see the wheel?
Yes.
Okay. I've been having problems with my sound, so if the wheel doesn't sing to you, I apologize in advance. Here we go. Spin number 1. Yay, Mary Beth! You're making out like a bandit this month, my dear. Mary Beth.
And it can sound.
And there is sound.
There's
Really?
Yep.
Okay. I'm done trying to figure it out. Okay. Wheel number 2. Here we go. Marianne! Yay! Marianne won a book. Okay. She won the Techno Mage. That's awesome. Spin number 3. Here we go. Aren't you glad you came, Patty? It happened again. Okay, here we go. Spin number 4 for the second copy of Red Morning Child. And Joan claims that she never wins stuff. This is like the 4th time Joan has won stuff this month. I don't think you get to make that claim anymore, Joan. Okay, and the last one is for Sherry's 2-book set. Here we go. Okay, Chelsea, I expect you to videotape the backflips you are currently doing, okay? Because I know you that well. All right, here we go. You're probably wondering now how you get to claim your prizes. And that means, Kate, can you explain this process, please?
Absolutely. If your name came up on the spinning wheel of happiness, which mine never does, but that's okay.
Yeah, but you get automatic points in the race, so don't gripe.
That is true. All right. If your name came up today in the spinning wheel of happiness, then just make sure that you email Diana by midnight tonight with your mailing address. If you do not do this, guess what? The book's going to be chucked right back into the pool where maybe I might win it, which would be fabulous.
I've got a treasure chest full of things that people have not claimed. So at Venetian night, it's going to be fun.
Oh, I did not know that.
Uh-huh. They go back in for Venetian night. That's where they go, into the Venetian night treasure chest.
So anyway, all of you, just don't bother emailing Diana. You don't need to do anything.
You're funny. Okay, moving on. So, Life Raft Lottery. Caroline, you want to take a stab at it?
If you don't let Kate sabotage your chance of reading the book, make sure when you get that book that you look through it, and you're going to look for a ticket, and you're going to scratch the sale, and hopefully, fingers crossed, it says winner, because if it does say winner on it, that means that you've won even more great prizes. And this year, this time around, you've even had authors who aren't participating in the festival donate prizes. So there's some really amazing prizes that you can win if you get that winner. And don't forget to look, because same thing's going to happen. If you miss it, there's not much we can do. So make sure you do that.
So if you don't check your prize, your Life Raft Lottery ticket, the bonus prizes will go into the Venetian night treasure chest.
Right. So
keep that in mind.
Don't listen to Kate.
Yeah.
Chelsea, I adore you. She feels like a gambling addict. She just wants to scratch off. I know. Diana, this is what you've done to us.
Yeah, well, when you find something that works. Okay. So now, Caroline.
Yes, because
of the bonuses.
See, because here's the thing, it's not enough just to possibly win a book and then to possibly win even more prizes.
It's not enough.
What you're going to do when you find that winning scratch off in your book is you're going to get dressed up. You're going to put on your best costume. You're going to pull out your phone, turn on the video feature, and you're going to post this poem onto Facebook. Out of my window, looking in the night, I can see the sailboat's flickering light. Starboard shines green and port is glowing red. I can see the sailboats straight ahead. Sailboats, are there treasures in your holds? Many trunks filled with silver and gold? Sailboats, are there captains at your helm, bringing books for readers of our town? And we've already had some pretty decent videos coming up onto Facebook. So make sure you do that right away. Don't wait, because we are coming up at the end of the month. And what's going to happen when you do that is our whole Facebook group is going to vote on their favorite 5 videos. And if you win, there's even more great prizes for you.
Crazy. The prizes that we're giving away this month, it's bordering on obscene. It's that crazy.
Bordering on.
Bordering on. Not quite getting there because we're family friendly. So bordering. Okay. And Andrew Smith did an amazing thing. He donated the Embracing the Thrill of Fear Grand Prize. This is for the ultimate performance out of all of the winning videos that are posted. If we get 5, then we'll give away the bonus prizes. But then, if we get more than 5, then we're going to vote Venetian night for the best one. The best one is going to win this prize donated by Andrew Allen Smith. You're going to start with a copy of A Slice of Fear, which is a collection of really creepy short stories that Andrew wrote. Then you're going to take it to the next level as you find your way to Barnes & Noble and spend your $50 gift card on new books and pirate booty and stuff. But you're not done yet, because then you're going to take your $25 American Express gift card and you're going to go have dinner. And you're going to get dessert. and you're going to get an eye patch and all that stuff that pirates do when they ransack little towns. So this is just an amazing prize pack. I can't even believe that Andrew was so generous. But he says, what better way to face your fear and move past it with books and your imagination? So again, huge shout out to Andrew for doing this. And remember, this is about the videos that you guys post, so somebody could walk away with this astounding prize on June 30th at Venetian night. Okay, Kate, you want to take a stab at it?
First of all, shout out to Chelsea in the chat. I am dying over here right now. Chelsea just came for all of you in the chat. So if you're thinking you might try to beat her, yeah, good luck with that, because she's got like swords and stuff like that. So we actually, Diana, in her imminent kindness, did actually have something for the authors this time around, where guess what? Well, oh wait, he won. Never mind.
Yeah. Okay, so here's the deal. This is the virtual Port Huron to Mackinac race after the actual race that happens in Michigan every year. We did it virtually this year, still doing it, by the way. It doesn't end until the 29th of June, actually. Christopher Gare is in the lead along with Captain D.A. Reed. The two of them have already reached Mackinac Island. The rest of us are trailing behind. But we're making our way north. It's not that much further to go. So the way this has been happening is that
I need help.
That's all right. Every time somebody attends one of our festival legs, they've been voting for their captains, and the captains have been getting prizes to move forward. As you see here, the captains are all going to compete for captain of the fleet, and right now the way it sits is that it's only going to be Christopher and Deborah's names on that spinning wheel to win captain of the fleet. So we've got a couple more days for people to catch up. And then one of them is going to get all those really cool, snazzy prizes over there. Okay, Kate, you know this one.
Sorry, guys. Just make sure that you vote for me, even though I'm pretty much last, just so that Christopher does not win. All right.
He will.
Anyway, so I know all of you, honestly, looking at the chat, you all are going right out to scoop up all of these wonderful books tonight. And they were absolutely amazing. And yes, absolutely, Christopher is going overboard. So where do you go to find these books? Guess what? I've been popping it into the chat. I'm going to pop it into the chat again right now. There is a harbor store where Diana has said, you know what? I'm not even going to charge you harbor slip fees or something like that.
That's good. You did that. Slip fees. That's good. You got it right. Congratulations. This is a woman who knows nothing about boats. So
no, I hate boats.
It took me a month, but she can be taught.
Maybe. So anyway, everybody head over to the harbor store, scoop up those books. I mean, the ones tonight, I guess I have everybody has been saying this tonight. Yeah, I have a lot more on my to be read file for sure. So head over there. I popped it into the chat. But again, Diana is not taking any fees from this whatsoever. This is all going straight back to the authors. So any interest that you have in supporting the authors, just go ahead, buy their book. There you go.
See, there you go. It's that simple. Just and something I just decided to do 2 days ago because, you know, I cannot be trusted. I'm going to be adding all of the authors included in this harbor catalog to a permanent feature on our book, on our website, which will be a permanent author catalog, which everybody will get to have a direct connection to their books. See, my goal here, I know we all use Amazon, but I want to reduce the noise from traditionally published books and focus the noise on indie published books. So that means we have to have a catalog of our own. That's the end, you know, horizon goal here. So starting small, moving up. So that'll be coming out in August. We'll have that permanent catalog. So thanks for everybody for supporting my wackiness. As we do every night, we're going to do final thoughts, shots across the bow. Sherry, do you have any parting words for us?
I am so glad I found you.
Me
I-
too.
I actually found you because I featured a woman whose name I don't even remember on my own blog. Did like a little feature and review, and she said, "Oh, by the way, you ought to try this. Check this out." So you've got people out publicizing for you. If I ever find her again, I'll thank her. But nice to be here.
How cool that, like, word is getting out there. That's pretty awesome. Thank you very much. Michael, any final thoughts for us tonight?
Just that glad I came back, and sorry that I missed the one in February, but try not to miss the one in October.
No apologies. Everybody comes when they can. That's how this works. Thank you so much for sharing your work with us.
Yep.
Raine, any shots across the bow tonight?
Just thank you so much for having me.
Of course. We hope that you will come back.
I'd love to.
Awesome. Hey, Jean.
So I found my thing. So if anyone wants to go for bonus points, this is the fantasy novelist exam. You can find it online, and you can have that by your side as you're reading Not Another Bard's Tale. Go, oh, there's one, and check it off. So.
So check it off the list. I like that. It's kind of like a treasure hunt, right?
There are 29.
So you can you throw that link on our Facebook page so that we can all do the treasure hunt together? That would be awesome. Thank you very, very much. Kate McNeil, shots across the bow.
Thank you, just every single author tonight, for sharing just the generosity of your spirit. Thank you so much. I love fantasy because this is all coming out of your brain. It's not like me who's over here doing research on some weird stuff. No, thank you for sharing what came out of here. I am so excited to have so many books in my to-be-read pile.
It's very cool. Madame Caroline.
I was really looking forward to this part of the night because as I was listening to all the authors today, I love it because we say this is fantasy, but to me this is so much more because we got history and we got this like really intense, almost verging on horror, and then the comedy, and then the whole mystical part and all of that. And I love it because it just shows how deep and how rich this whole genre is, and how different it is. Everything we listened to, that was so different. I love that. So just thank you. That was a very enjoyable night tonight.
Thank you. Thanks everybody for coming. I'm so glad you waded through the waters to the end of the month with us. Thank you so very much. Jean, I gotta say, good luck tomorrow at your festival. Really.
Thank you.
I'm hoping that works for you. I wouldn't do anything outdoors this weekend for anything in the world, but you go, girl. Thank you so much. Everybody have a wonderful weekend. We are off tomorrow. Everybody's on shore leave tomorrow night, but we will be back on Sunday for Andrew's workshop on weapons in fiction. Have a wonderful night, everybody. Thanks for coming.
Good night.